Welcome to Bleav in Chargers. We are in the training camp editions of Bleav in Chargers with the great Lorenzo Neal, all-decade team, one of the finest fullbacks ever to suit it up in the league. And Lo bless the folks down at the Bolt with his presence, and they are still talking about it in the leagues. People awfully excited to see Lo. It's all I get, money, money. And I think I'm the star, and I come over and I say, hey, and they're like, when's Lo coming back? I don't know, man.
Uh,
Lo's babysitter. I think she wanted me to come over here and take a photo with you. You just want to know where Lorenzo is. That's all right. I understand. We had one half of the dynamic duo out there yesterday. LaDainian Tomlinson brought into practice, delivered a message to the team. It was great to see LT, but certainly need a little bit more Lo Neal. And I know that very well could be in our future. So make sure you keep an eye on all of our podcasts. Bleav in Chargers. We appreciate you watching, listening, downloading, however you consume it. Thank you. Thank you for consuming. And we appreciate the likes and the reviews and the comments. We love engaging with you on the YouTube and the comment feed and all that. So please keep that going. We really, really appreciate it. And we're excited, Lo, because we got football. It's not just us kind of talking about what's the roster going to look like and are they going to sign
right.
this guy? And it's football. And we've had a chance to watch a lot of football. I've been out to practice every day this week. It's been a good week because Coach Harbaugh ladders these practices, and it's kind of fit into my schedule just right.
Yeah, I think it's just amazing. You 4 or 5 months ago, we're talking about the end of the season. We're talking about how the Chargers didn't end on the note that we thought that we wanted to see and what we would like. You talked about the Niners and what they did. Kansas City again wins the Super Bowl. So there's just so many things that were going into free agency. What are the Chargers going to do? What are they going to address? What are they going to do in the draft? And all of a sudden, the draft comes, and you and I were excited about the draft and talking about, well, what these guys are going to do. You go get Big Joe Alt. You go to tackle from Penn State. You go and get all these guys, and Jerry Rice's son, and you think, okay, who's going to do what? And you start laying out, and you go through some OTAs, and you're still speculation. And you watch the rest of the league start to form. Money. You look at it and seeing, hey, wow, the Jets defensively unbelievable. Okay, the Jets big back. All the things you look around the league and you look in the AFC. Okay, what's going on with Kansas City? And that's your barometer. Kansas City is the team to beat. So you're just watching everything comes into place. You're starting to watch Harbaugh, and they hire Harbaugh, and now you're starting to see them make this cake. And you're just wondering now, what's going to be the flavor? That's where we're at now. You're at training camp, and we're trying to find out what is going to be the flavor of this team. And it's been great watching the team grow. It's been great watching Harbaugh and offensively, defensively implement his plan. What is going to be the flavor? And that's where, I think every team is like, what is going to be our identity? What is going to be our flavor? And how are we going to perform?
Yeah, he's called it the glide. That's the term that he's given it, what he's done. Even though the guys are in pads, there's not a lot of live periods. There are for the back end of the roster. He said it gives them a better opportunity to evaluate, roster spots and practice squad spots that are on the line. But in terms of ones, there's not a lot of live yet. And he said that's, he described it as a plane taking off. He's like, we just got to kind of get that momentum. We're at a dead stop, and you can't just immediately get to 30,000 feet. We got to glide our way there. So there's a little bit of thud, and he said he's a fascinating guy to listen to, and you should head over to the Chargers YouTube channel because they post all of the pressers. But I had never heard it, and he's so content and just he extends and expands when it comes to his answers, and made a really good point. I don't know if this was your experience when you were in camp, Lo, but he said, when it comes to the ones, he's like, basically you have one choice or the other when you get into short yardage. You're either going to go live or you go walk through. He's like, there's no sense to do anything else. He's like, and I'm not ready to go live yet with these guys. So that's why you see us kind of thud. And then once we get to these short yardage, if it's a 3rd and 2, it's like, hey, walk through. If it's goal line, we're either going to go live or we're going to go walk through. And I had never heard it explained that way before. He's like, there's just nothing to get out of those short yardage with thud. He's like, it's just, there's more harm that can come from that than help. And I start there, and then I get to Josh Palmer, who is their number one receiver and has struggled with injuries throughout his first 3 years. And one of his answers to the first question of, hey, what's it like playing for Coach Harbaugh? And he said he's a very common sense coach. And he didn't kind of build on that. And someone said, well, what do you mean? And he pointed out, he's like, well, he goes, I've never had someone where we're in training camp and he's like, hey, we're just getting started, guys. So on this drill, receiver and DBs can't go up at the same time. You risk landing on somebody's foot, roll an ankle, or just be contact and come down weird, land on a shoulder. He goes, so he would just say, hey, this is receiver period. Let the receiver go up, catch the ball, come down, no contact. And then, next series, 20 minutes later, he'll say, hey, guys, this defense is the emphasis here. So here's how we're going to play it. And he goes, it's common sense. He's like, but for whatever reason, people don't do it. And he said that's one of the great sort of things about having Coach Harbaugh as his coach that he's taking away from this is just how much thought he's put into the way he wants to run a practice in training camp to make sure the guys are healthy. Because he started by saying, hey, when I walk off the field every day healthy, that's how I know it's been a good day for me. That's what my goal is to walk off the field healthy.
Money, when you were just talking, man, it was like, wow, I just was going through my career and thinking along those lines. And I think that's what the listener has to understand. Like, what do you mean glide? And what do you mean don't go against one another? And he's absolutely right. When you're playing goal line and short yardage, you have to realize you have guys 300 pounds plus or less. And it's mano a mano. Guys are going to stay up on their feet. They're going to get to the ground because they're trying to play with leverage. So what do you usually get on goal line short yardage? You get power-ups. You get it's a car wreck. So it's power-ups because these guys you're not trying to move them. They're taught to grab dirt, don't give up ground. So they're gonna play low. Guys are getting injured, guys are getting hurt. So he's absolutely right when he's talking about, hey, look, what is this? It defeats the purpose. So he's saying, let's get this glide, let's build this momentum. Let's go out here and when we play in team one-on-ones, these different things, let's let guys catch the ball. Let's guys make these plays because if we don't, we're going 0 to 100. We've been going without pads. All we've been doing is OTAs and this stuff. And all of a sudden we go one day of training camp. Okay, now it's full. Now it's live. You're not sure. You don't know the plays 100%. You're not 100%. So now you're thinking about my job, all these different things, too many things in your mind. You're clouded. So you are going to risk injuries. Harbaugh's absolutely right. I love the philosophy. I love what he's doing because you are mitigating your risk because guys don't not understand and their bodies haven't been used to it yet and they just don't know. So you glide into it, and I think it's a common sense rule.
Yeah.
I totally understand.
Yeah, it's been great, and so far so good. Jamari Sawyer left. Whew, you want to talk about a rep, man? He left yesterday. I felt bad for him. He was playing. What was he playing? He's playing left guard, I think. Or no, yeah, he was playing left guard. Joe Alt was over at left tackle, and some really good one-on-ones, D-line, O-line, with Alt, rookie, of course, getting his first licks, and he's held his own. Joey's got him a few times, but Alt's, so 3 plays in a row, Alt's playing left tackle with the ones, and he's getting the better of Joey. First 2, Alt wins. Third one, 50-50. Herbert gets off.
Yeah.
And I've been around Joey enough. I can see it. Every now and then, man, there's a switch that flips, and you better get the hell out of the way because there are very few dudes in the league that are as strong as that guy and have the hand strength that he has. And I could see he was getting a little frustrated. And man, if you can envision a human being lifting someone up who's 350 pounds and throwing him like a sack of potatoes, Joey was just lifted him, pancaked him, and picked him up and threw him into Jamari Sawyer, who unfortunately, was engaged in his own block and kind of got rolled up on a little bit. Now on the play, Herbert delivered a perfect strike to Josh Palmer, so he was able to kind of get out of the wash there. DJ Chark, it was one of the two, but it was a reminder of, hey,
let me reintroduce myself. My name is Joey.
Sure.
That's Bosa.
Yes, just want to make sure. And it happened again a little bit later where I don't know what was told to the guys about tempo, but it was late in practice. It was the final live period, and it was just thud. And I could see, I don't know if you felt like you took a shot in the back, but I happened to be kind of right in line with where he was, and I could see him kind of, doing his thing and looking at the guy, and I was like, oh boy, here we go. It was just swim, dust, hand. I think it was Max Duggan might have been the quarterback. I was like, I feel bad for Duggan here. And it was just, it's great to see, right? Like we talked about it. Joey's the X factor, man, and that's what he's like every snap of a game. He is an absolute force to be reckoned with. And it was fun to see that little that little spark
Spark.
return. Yes, it was.
What did
What
Harbaugh what did Harbs do when he did he what was Harbs watching it,
Wait,
or did he
what do
kind
you
of?
think he did? He moved the drill. People came out to take care of Jamar, and he moved to the other field. That's what he did. Let's go. Let's keep it going. Move the drill, low.
Exactly. Move the drill, baby. Move the drill. Hey, we'll catch up with you later. Let's move the drill. That's
Exactly.
that's awesome though. And that's what you're there. When you're in training camp, of course Harbaugh's got this glide technique, I understand, but you do want to start ramping it up. And when you see guys start to pick it up and you're out there and you as a media, you know these guys, you've been around them, you're like, okay, someone's getting ready to crank up that diesel, baby, and
Yep.
someone's that forklift's coming out. And you just watch that. And that's what Temple is. And you know what? That's gonna help Joe. Now Big Joel's going to say, okay, I got to play lower. You don't think that he's going to sit in there in that meeting. You're going that meeting. And that's the thing. I absolutely hated going to meetings because you play these plays in your head, whether it's a
Right.
game, whether it's practice. So you go to lunch and guys are looking over, but then you go in that meeting room, right? And you're 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". And you know what? You start watching team and you're going through, okay, get your foot down. And all of a sudden that play shows up. You don't think everybody looks around and like, oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh boy.
oh,
Oh.
and you rewind it. And the coach, and it depends. Coach don't want to hurt your ego, so he's like, hey, you know what happened here? You just got to play a little lower. Hey, we're gonna work on that. And you don't want them to harp on it too long. So those are those
Right.
meetings that you're like, God, you want to get away? I know
Right.
how that is.
Yeah. Next play, please. Next play.
Yeah, yeah,
That,
exactly. We
right.
got it.
That's it.
Talk
We
to
got
me,
it.
or go to your coach
Yeah.
before the meeting and say, look, coach, when you get to that play, I understand. Me and you can
I
watch
got you.
it, but let's
Yeah.
let's not stay on that long.
And that's when coach goes, yeah, no problem. And then all of a sudden, first play, hey guys, let's get into this. You're like, coach did it to me again.
Exactly.
But again, I just point that Alt has had some really good reps. I mean, really good one-on-one, right? Joe is one of the best pass rushers in the league. He's arguably the best tactician in the league. He and his brother Nick. I mean, they're ridiculous
Right.
with what they
Right.
do. But Alt has had a really good first couple days. There's no question about that. I got no questions about that guy. And again, they're not going full. So until you do that, it's hard to figure out what the offensive line is. Couple other here. I got all my notes out low. So I'll start with this. I'm interested to see, and I'm not just doing this to patronize you. I will patronize Bet Online, though, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online sports betting. Get a 50% free bet up to $250 on your first deposit to bet anything from the Olympics to baseball, Formula One racing. They've got every stat matchup, live odds and spreads while the games are being played. Yes, so you're not too late. Once the game starts, you can still get in there. And when the game's over, get over to that online casino, blackjack, poker. They got a bunch of slots. Website has all the action. Get over there. Use the promo code Bleav, BLEAV. It's a 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet online. The game starts here. So I'm not saying this to patronize you, but I think legit we've got a fullback battle. I think we legitimately have a fullback battle. Ben Mason had a nice catch yesterday. He's the guy they signed in the offseason. He struggled to stay healthy, played at Michigan. I think he played at Michigan. But they've been using Jordan McFadden a lot. The tackle
That's
out of
right.
Clemson, guard, 315 pounds, great movement. Every day he's taking reps with the backs. And
Oh
you
wow.
see him in live periods. And I thought about Patrick Ricard, in Baltimore, who's been there. Greg
Right.
Roman worked with him there. And you're
Huge.
talking when you see him moving, you're like, get the hell out of the way. And I think that's what they're trying to figure out. Hey, can we save a roster spot? McFadden can be a great swing. He can play center guard. I don't know. I don't think he can play tackle, just not quite tall or long enough. But I think he's one of those guys that, hey, in a pinch, we can throw him out there, to finish a game
Sure.
up at guard or center. And he's our fullback. So I think that's one to keep an eye on,
I
where they can
will.
save a roster spot and find it somewhere else if they feel like, McFadden can end up being their fullback.
Yeah, and that's what you're talking about. That's why they get moving around, because trying to get through those holes between a guard and a tackle. And now you got a guard and a tackle trying to get through those holes at the same time. So that's the only thing, that sometimes you get those big guys that are athletic. Can they get through there? Can they move their body, turn their shoulders to be able to get through those holes? And it's good to see McFadden able to move. They can move him around and play like that because you got to be agile to be able to get through those holes. So it's good to see that Harbaugh is doing that, and we know Roman he did that in Baltimore. Shoot, the guy was 300 plus pounds as well, and able to
Yeah.
move well and able to move some earth when he gets to the line of scrimmage. So you want to see that, and I'd like to see it.
Yeah, and yesterday I felt like we learned a lot. It was the first day I really felt like we started to learn some things. Now we know who the top three receivers are. It's been the same all practice, all training camp long. It's your one and your two, or your outside receivers are Josh and DJ Chark. And Chark had a beautiful touchdown grab yesterday. He's really starting to show off. I think all of the questions about it, look, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are exceptional receivers. I'm not going to suggest anything but you're starting to see this chemistry develop, and Josh Palmer is reminding you of what he looked like when he was able to start and stay healthy for an entire game for either Keenan or Mike, and how he would get out of there and you look down and you're like, oh wow, 7 for 122 and a tug. It's like, yeah, Josh Palmer can do that. And each of those guys had a touchdown yesterday, deep touchdown. Josh had a beautiful one, middle of the field. Chark had a beautiful one down the left sideline, tracked the ball over his shoulder, caught it in stride, delivered perfectly. So you got those two, and it's Ladd McConkey. I mean, those are your three. Everything else, these guys are fighting. Quentin Johnson, I think, we talked about it last week. He's had a much better camp, but he's had a couple drops these last couple days, and clearly he's not out there. In 11, it's those three. So that's raised its hand, and I think that was something that a lot of people were wondering about. Who are the pass catchers? Who are these receivers going to be? And we're also seeing Ladd a little bit on the outside. Ladd had a great rep yesterday against Derwin in one-on-ones. Got matched up with Derwin and felt the leverage. Derwin was playing a little bit outside. Ladd sensed the inside leverage and kind of broke inside and then gave him a little shoulder, and Derwin had to flip his hips a little bit and bang right in stride. Herbert got him. Ladd's something, man. Ladd's going to be fun. Ladd's going to be really fun
Wow.
to watch this year, Lo.
Wow, I can't wait when you're going to these stories, and I can't wait to get back down there. And you're talking about, hey, how he just leaned him, set him up, got the stem, and just pushed him a little bit. And you see Derwin have to flip his hips because he knows he's out of position. When you can do that to a good DB, and they have to use that to recover, that's a nice move. So I just can't wait to see how this receiving core really going to perform in a game situation. Because, like you alluded to, you're talking about Mike Williams and Keenan, two guys that
Yeah.
are great receivers in this league. And to say that, hey, look, and that's why you were saying I'd be remiss if you didn't give them knowledge, but to say that these guys, not necessarily comparable, but you're seeing signs, you're seeing flashes,
Yeah.
you're understanding that, hey, these guys can make some plays for you, especially your trigger man is able to get the ball to them. So it's just going to be interesting to see how that receiving core, how they gel, how they come together. You got some alpha dogs, but who is going to emerge? Because it right now there's no guy that just you go out there and say, oh, that guy's going to give me 1,500 1,300 yards receiving. If there's
Right.
no guy that we don't know that yet, so there's a lot of unknown, but you're seeing the potential, and that's what I like to hear.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's the thing about the league. It's not just first round picks. It's not, I know he's the first name that popped into my mind, and I know unfortunately because of his behavior, people may not like to hear his name. But Antonio Brown, it's a 6th-round pick, man. Guy could run routes like nobody we've seen in 20 years, and that's how he was an
Right,
effective player. Smaller, strong as hell, but a smaller guy so it doesn't have to be Malik Neighbors or Roma Dunze. It can be or Marvin Harrison Jr. You can find these guys. AJ Brown, 2nd-rounder. DK Metcalf, 2nd-rounder. The wide receivers are different. It's just a different position. And so when people get all Twitter paid and freaked out that they're not drafting Malik Neighbors at number 6 overall, look, could he end up being the best receiver in the league? Sure. Justin Jefferson was the 3rd receiver taken in that draft, 4th receiver taken in that draft, I think, and he's the best receiver in the league. Like, you just
right.
don't. Receiver's a different position, and that's, again, I get it. I got a shirt that says "Bolt Up," and I call games for the Chargers. You could say I'm looking at it through powder blue and gold glasses, but it looks like, I've heard it so many times that a receiving room is a basketball team. You got to have your point guard, got to have your power forward, and it's starting to look like, okay, I see how it fits. And if you go out there with those 3 guys, and it was something Josh Palmer said yesterday, you're going to have to play one of us one-on-one. You're not going to be able to double both of us. And DJ talking about Chark and himself, and he said, and And we're starting to get, he goes, it's starting to come together. We're starting to look at each other and we're like, oh yeah. And Coach Harbaugh, or I think it was Coach Roman who said it, because Greg Roman, the OC, was at the lectern yesterday, and he mentioned it. He was asked about Josh, and he pointed out, he goes, there was this one rep where I could see, because he was talking about Josh maybe kind of being the leader of that room or so. Anyway, so that's too much setup, but sorry, everybody, you didn't need all that. But he said,
Yeah, we did.
he said, the thing that really popped at me about Josh is I could see him communicating with DJ, and Josh ran a route that he knew was going to spring DJ for that touchdown. And he's like, that's the kind of player Josh is. He said, that's a Super Bowl champion level player.
Wow.
When I see, hey, I'm going to do this because it's going to get you open for glory, and we're going to score on this play. And that's what we're talking about. It's
Sure.
the whole. A receiver room is a whole versus the sum of the parts. I know we always talk about five fingers on a glove for offensive line, but wide receivers, it's how do these three players complement each other, because you can't guard them all. And you're going to
No
have
question.
to, you'll commit resources to one spot, but that means you're going to be vulnerable in others. And can the vulnerabilities be taken advantage of? And it feels like that's now starting to come together.
And with that being said, Matt, let's kind of shoot over to another position that I think goes hand in hand to what we're talking about and what this position can do, because it can cause a safety to have to play in the box. It causes safety to say, I can't bracket a guy. And that's the tight end position. What have you seen out of the tight end position that's saying, okay, we are going to have a tight end that's going to demand that you have to double him or bracket him because of his speed or because of he can stretch the field? Because you understand, with a great tight end, they're not just chain movers. They're becoming more game changers. Well, hey, diddle, diddle, Kittle down the middle. Look at the Niners. You see a linebacker on Kittle. It's a mismatch. So you have to put a safety. You have to say, I'm going to put a corner and nickel on someone like that. Does the Chargers, their tight end room, does it bring you? Do you see that can possibly becoming something that we have to deal with or talk about?
Yeah, I do. I think what Herbert told us in his opening presser is spot on, that Will Dissly's a much better pass catcher that he's getting credit for, that he's not just a run blocker, that he is a full service tight end. And you're seeing that trust in some of those seam routes and some big gainers in the middle of the field with Dissly. Hayden Hurst he's going to have, I think Hayden's going to have a big year. And I'm not talking about Travis Kelce. Nobody has that type of year, George Kittle.
Right.
But to me, a big Hayden Hurst year is 5+ touchdowns, is 650 plus yards, as sort of, because of how often Will's going to be out there with what this team wants to do offensively, right? Will's going to get the majority of the reps because of his blocking prowess. He's one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. So he's going to be out there probably for more snaps than Hayden is. But I think that's very realistic. I think Hayden could go back to, one of his best years, that year in Atlanta, the year in Cincinnati where he's sniffing 700, maybe even
Wow.
cross the 700-yard plateau and get those 5 touchdowns. I do think that's possible. I told you, you and I were talking about 49, Zach Hines, 6'7", 260, and he is every bit of that out of South Dakota State. And I was talking
Yeah,
to somebody
you were high on
about
him.
him, and he continues to fight. He's a big guy, man, and you can just see it. You're like, okay, I know what they want from their tight ends, and that looks like it. That's Hines looks like it. So that's the one I'm keeping an eye on. Stone Smart is still he's catching balls. Donald Parham's been working off to the side a lot. He's not been in the live, so it's hard to kind of speak to that. But Greg Roman keeps bringing his name up whenever someone asks about the tight end. Coach repeatedly says, by the way, don't forget, we got a guy who's 6'9". And every time I look at him, I'm like, God, what must it be like to be 6'9"? And I think of all the
6'9".
things you can do with him in the red
Right.
zone. So it feels like Parham's going to make the team. But remember, I say that it does feel like Parham's going to make the team if he can get healthy and get rolling here. But because it just sounds like Roman is so enamored with that size and what he can do with him. But let's
But
not
Hines
forget.
meets
What's that?
I said, but Hines meets your eye test. Is that
It
you're
does.
just saying?
It just
Yeah,
feels like it feels like there's something there where, okay, who's the other full service tight end? Who's, like Hayden can block, he's fine. But I'm thinking, is there another guy that fits that Will Dissly profile that can really own the C and catch some passes? And yeah, I feel like that's the one guy, because Stone Smart's a converted quarterback, super
sure.
athletic, tall guy, good hands. Parham's 6'9". They've tried to make him a blocker since he's been here, and that's just whatever. That's just not necessarily. He's too tall. It's tough for him. So that's the one guy I'm keeping my eye on. But I think, look, we talk about, what we're talking about in that conversation is what, position 42 through 53. Focus on the top two, and because that's what's 90% of the 95% of the reps are going to be Hayden Hurst and Will Dissly, and if those two guys are healthy, I think it's a really good tight end room.
Well, great. Well, we know that he got the tight end group, and you talk about receivers and going through that. Let's talk about a position that for the last couple of years we know that it's safe, and we know that no one's going to challenge this position. But what have you seen the maceration and the growth of a guy by the name of Herbert? What have you seen in camp, and what have you seen the last couple of years to lead to this per se? Same, and what's the difference in your opinion?
Yeah, Justin, he looks happy. He looks geeked. He looks, he's stoked to be out there, and you can just see the way he's bouncing around, the communication with everyone. That we don't need to go into the physical, right? I mean, my
No,
God, the
no,
guy's arguably the most physically gifted quarterback in the league. Just with when you combine the brain with the arm, with the athleticism, with the prototypical size,
he's a horse.
yeah, like that's if you were just to say, like, hey, you want it to look, you want him to look the part and have all of the attributes and measurables. He's number one. Just so I just kind of think in terms of it's him and Josh Allen, right? Those are the two guys that you think of hey, that's what it's supposed to look like. That's what
Right.
you're looking for. So as far as where he's, like, the throws are there, the throws are there, and they're great. And I mentioned those deep balls to there should have been another deep ball to Quentin that unfortunately was incomplete 2 or 3 days ago. 2 days ago. No bueno. But yeah, he's already in midseason form, man. He looks so good.
Okay.
He looks so
It
good.
is. So you think that the offense, he's got a grasp on it. You see the control. So right now
Yeah.
it looks mid-season form. You're like, okay, this guy has it. He knows where they're supposed to be. So he looks that apart right now.
Yes, absolutely, no
Wow.
doubt. He looks like
Wow.
he's got it. And that Coach Roman, like I said, he spoke quite a bit. And they're not, they're ramping in as well. They're slowly adding stuff, and they're figuring out what they want to add, what's going to make it, what's not. And certainly when you're talking about a lot of these live periods, there's a lot of runs in there now. They are going to run the ball. They are going to run the hell out of the ball. Don't get it twisted by what the theme of this pod has been, that I'm talking about deep passes to Chark and Palmer and Lad McConkey and all that. No, I went over and watched the 9-on-7 and watched Gus, and they did ones all the way over where I was. Daniel Popper from The Athletic and I were standing, and Eric Smith from Chargers.com. We were all over there watching, and it was split evenly 5-5 for Gus and JK. And there's a lot of run. Hold on, I want to make sure I get the guys. You can see how small the font is, and I'm very old.
Yeah.
So
Wow, I can't believe. Yeah, you got better eyes than me.
exactly. Jarrett Patterson, 34. That's a name to watch. He's run the ball really well. And then another one, we got another Jalen, 39. Jalen Johnson, the wide receiver. Dude, he's got hands. This guy, Jalen Johnson. So Jalen, and now I got to get really old low, because I know I can recognize the name.
There you go. There's the glasses. I was waiting to see that.
Exactly.
I was like,
Got to break it out, man.
Come on. Put those readers on, baby. Make me feel good.
Jalen, 6'2", 194 rookie out of East Carolina. Keep an eye on him, man. If he doesn't, and we say, it's funny though, right? I mean, and was this your experience when it came to, and I don't know if you could ever pay attention to the fans or the media and what they were talking about, but it seems like every team's, training camp, for some reason, it's a wide receiver that you're like, oh, he's got to make the team. It's always a wide receiver. And then it's like, yeah, no, he's going to sail through to the practice squad. There's a million wide receivers in the league, but Jalen Johnson's really kind of raised his head. I just feel I've done that every year with Michael Bandy, and I love Michael Bandy. The Bandy Man's one of my favorites. And then when he got pressed into playing multiple games in the NFL, it's like, oh,
where'd he go?
Okay.
You see why? Yeah, you see why they do the evaluation. No, but that's usually how it goes, though. You see these guys, they have those spots, and that's what you and I talked about earlier. We say, hey, look, you lost two good receivers. One probably maybe be a Hall of Famer, me and Canton one day. But we talk about, hey, look, they're not going out here to say these guys got to be Keenan. But you're going to go out there and say, okay, if this guy, I mean, he's a starter on this play is designed for you. You can't do everything, but on this play, you're a starter. And I think that's how you look at some of these guys, receivers, and that's how you got to look at some of these particular backs because you don't have a Keenan on this team. Let's be real. Keenan, it wasn't he nothing he couldn't do. Your every receivers, these guys are not seasoned that way yet. So when you
Right.
have a receiver core like you have now on certain plays, the focus points on those receivers. So when you're talking about that transition receiver, running back, that's what we talk about the other positions, but the running back position too. Is it going to be by committee? We've talked about quarterback, we talked about receivers. Is the running back position more you think by committee as well? What have you seen in training camp? Is Dobbins who have stuck? Has anyone risen that said, "Hey, this is the guy"? I know you talked about some of these guys, 34, but or
Yeah.
is you see a guy that say this guy may have a great legitimate shot?
I'd love to know what it was like when you were going through it, Low, but there's just such a clear delineation, right? It's JK and it's Gus, and then they're figuring it out. It's
Right,
every time
right.
they're doing ones, it's like it's those guys are splitting the reps evenly, and there's two guys, so it's like there's not. When you think about most teams, you hear, oh, they've
There's
got a
two guys.
workhorse, and here's the third down back, and it's so now you've got two guys, and cracking that, knowing how well JK can catch the ball, like that's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough for that third back to get a lot of reps if those guys stay healthy because it's a hell of a 1-2 punch. Like we said, and you and I were standing there, you know how different they look and the different
Yeah,
qualities they bring. So I don't know who I would even be. I wouldn't even begin to be able to
understood.
say who that third is. But if I was forced to, if I like between Elijah Dotson, Isaiah Spiller, Kamani Vidal, I think Patterson's the guy that's looked the best, to be honest. It like has shown the most explosion, wiggle, great hands out of the backfield. He's sort of the one that's, and that goes, and you know what? It's a perfect opportunity for me to. Lindsay always does a great job pulling some comments and questions from you folks on the YouTube. And I don't know if I got in there to reply to some of the comments. If I didn't, I apologize. It's just been a crazy week ramping up with all these practices and the radio show and all. You know how it is when it first hits you low. It's like, holy crap, football
Oh,
season's
no
back.
question.
What do you and Lowe think of Brennan Rice? Is it possible he can become a starter? Personally, I've been high on him and think he is a hidden gem on the Chargers roster. That is from Jake. Let's see, Jake Williams. Jake, thank you. We appreciate you. Um, Starter, is it possible? Of course. Of course it's possible. Guy can end up, he's got the talent. Guy had 13 or 12 touchdowns, 13 touchdowns for USC last year. It's Jerry Rice's kid. Of course it's possible. Um, I'll say this. Yesterday was one of his best practices, or maybe it was 2 days ago. He had a really good day one of the last 2 days. And that's what he's going to have to do, right? I mean, you know what it's like, Low, when you come in as
Sure,
a 7th-round
sure.
pick and you've got these receivers in front. I mean, like, what does he have to do in order to make the roster? Like, what do you think they'd be looking for?
Yeah, I'll be candid with you, and Jerry loved Jerry. Jerry's the greatest receiver. He's a goat. It's possible, but you're talking about Brandon Rice. It's possible, but not. It's not probable. For what? You could put Brandon out there, but why take chances? It's a situation where you have a young guy that's just going to be stronger. He's going to get stronger. He's going to get faster. He's going to mature, but he's not going to. You don't need him to be a starter. You have these other guys in there right now. They're better than him, but this guy can grow into a starter. I think the biggest things for Rice is to say, God, I am going to kick some butt on special teams. I'm going to be the first one down there. I'm going to do all those small things. And you work your way on it to say, look, hey, make the squad. If it's practice squad, if it's a practice squad, or it's on the team. But you're going to have to do something to catch the coach's eyes. Let's be real. He's not
Right.
necessarily the 1 or 2 or the 3, or maybe not even the 4 or the 5. But what can he do? He can run down on kickoff and do that. He can run on kickoff return, make sure do these things. So that's what he has to do. Now, yes, a year from now, 2 years from now, absolutely, he can become a starter in this league. So that's kind of where I'm at with the young Rice.
Yeah. And like I said, he had a really good day of
What?
practice. He's going to get the reps. Like, the ones are going to get limited reps in the preseason. I think they are going to get reps, though, which I'm excited about. I think they're going to get reps, or, they
Without
have
a doubt,
joint
Harbaugh. It's
practices.
Harbaugh.
right?
Harbaugh's not going to let these guys sit.
I had a conversation with someone, and I don't want to name who it was, just because I don't know if he's comfortable me sharing it. But we were talking about preseason and what's the philosophy and is it a quarter, is it a series, and he made it. It's the first time I've ever heard it. He made a great point. He's like, honestly, I just want to win the game. It's like everybody talks about how these games don't matter and who cares? It's preseason. We're just working on some stuff. He's like, I want my guys to work on winning. That's what I want. I don't care if you're the one, if you're the two, if you're likely guy number 89 or 90. Show me that you know how to go out and win a game, that you're down by 10 and you dig and you're like, to hell with this. I'm coming back. And we're going to score on this drive right now. He goes, that's what I look for. He goes, yeah, you can work on stuff. He's like, but I 100% Bleav in winning those games. That transfers. Oh, well, remember when the Colts won the Super Bowl? They went they went winless in the preseason. Okay, fine, congratulations. It's like I want to win. It's like I want
Yeah.
to. You're down. It's the fourth quarter, and you're down 4, and you've got the ball with 4 minutes left. We better win this game. Like that. I don't care if it's the fourth string offense. I want to see my fourth string offense get coached up by my coaches and my coordinators, and win the game. And so that was sort of an interesting. I thought that was a great way to. I'd never really heard it described that way.
Yeah, I think it's great too when you have coaches and coaching staff and players believe in that way because let's talk let's be real. Let's put the rat on the table. It's hard to make the National Football League if you're not a one or a two. If you're not a high draft pick, it's hard to make a team. You don't get the reps anymore. You don't get the hit anymore. You don't hardly have training camps any longer. So I think it's great if these young guys get to play, these rookies, undrafted guys, and you already know who your starters is. If you know that, yeah, you let them play a quarter, let them, but you let these young guys let them audition for other teams. That's how you make that's how you're going to make an NFL team because you're not getting the reps. You're not going to get the opportunity at practice. You're not going to get the opportunity. So when you hear coaching staff saying, look, I want guys to win. I'm going to put you an opportunity. If it's not here, because you know what, you can throw the ball over the field if you're a quarterback. But guess what? Even if you are better than Herbert, you're not going to be on that team.
Right.
You're not making that. So it's like that's what I love when you see coaches understand how preseason truly is designed. It's not just to get your team ready to play a season, it's to get the opportunities for other teams to see your talent and say, this team, this guy can help my team. I'm missing this guy. So that's what I love about preseason.
Right. Yeah. We're trying to keep you in the league. We're trying to get you a job. May not be here,
Exactly.
but let's get you on a practice squad. I can't keep, 20 of you are going to be gone. I can't keep you on the practice squad. So let's figure out if we can find you a spot. Let's go win. All right. Let's wrap. I'm just going to empty the notebook here, Lo.
Sure.
Here you go. All my notes. So
Wow.
first note, 2 stars around it. Ladd versus Derwin. We already talked about that one. So that was the headline there. We talked about that rep that Ladd McConkey had against Derwin. JT Woods. There we go. Speaking of tight ends, had a really good rep against Hayden Hurst. JT, we've talked about. This is a guy that led the nation in interceptions when he was at Baylor, drafted in the 3rd round, has not been able to get on the field, and thought he had a really good day of practice. They need that third safety. And Tony Jefferson has been running kind of with the 3s and 4s. So clearly that job is up for grabs. It's up for grabs with AJ Finley. It's up for grabs with JT Woods and with Tony Jefferson. And let's see, I've got that. Let's see, Disley cooked AJ Finley. That was the one I was talking about on that seam route for the tight end. Ladd went 2 for 2 versus JT. 9 on 7. Oh yeah, we already talked about that, right? The 5 reps each for Gus and for JK. JK bounced quite a bit. And you could just see him beating the defensive back to the corner and turning it upfield. You can see that explosion from JK, and Gus just lower his shoulder and run the guy over. So, just the differences.
Right.
Here was a good one. This you'll like this, Lo. Very last play of that 9 on 7 was a Gus Edwards run. I think it was left. So I think it was left. Deion Henley there. I got Henley versus Gus. Best pop of the thud I've heard today. So Deion Henley, we didn't mention. We barely talked about defense, but Deion Henley, man, he looks good. And there was a nice little pop between those two big swole dudes that kind of made a little bit of a collision in 9 on 7, and it was fun to see that. I think we're going to see some of that from Deion. You're going to see some. He's going to lose some money. I think he's going to lose a little bit of money. You know, I think we got to start a
I,
GoFundMe. We should start a Deion
yeah,
Henley
yeah.
GoFundMe for Charger fans
Let's
because
do it.
I think he's going to lose a little bit of money this year. That dude's got some. He's
He's got
got
some.
some pop, man.
He's got some bite to him, huh?
Yeah, I mentioned the Ben Mason had a nice release and a catch. Talked about Josh and about Chark. And oh yeah, there it was. So was that Brennan Rice? Yeah. So Brennan Rice did have a touchdown yesterday. I think against Hankins. Had a nice touchdown grab, middle of the field against Hankins. Yeah, let's see. So I don't know if you can see it. Let me try to put it up. Where did it go? Just so you can see how it works. Here, let's see. So there you go. You can see right there. There's the
I can
reps.
see it. There
Alt
you go.
versus Bosa. There's 3-1.
Yes.
That was the Chark touchdown. And then I had the stunt that Bosa got the sack on, and here's the play. Alt shoved into Sawyer. And that was
you're out there note taking. Hey, money. You're giving the people what they want. You're taking the notes. You got the plays, the tally. You got it all tallied up. This is great, man. This is awesome.
It was so there it was. It was 3-0, and then it was then I mentioned Bosa had the stunt, got the sack, and was still upset. And then the very next play, Alt shoved into Sawyer. So that was that little series of plays. Cam Dicker, perfect on all of his kicks, all the way out to 55 yards. And there was a heavy wind. There was a heavy right to left wind. He was starting those things a good 5 yards outside the right upright. And you would just see that beautiful draw that I could never do on a golf course, right down the middle, right down the middle of the road. So that was nice. And that's typically where, here's the second play bomb, Herb to Chark. We talked about that. Mac had a couple pressures and sacks. Joe, there you go. There's another one. Let's see. You'll love this. There it is. Right. Where you at? Right there. Joey took a cheap shot. Next play, triple team, still got the pressure. So that's there we go.
Oh, I can't wait to get out. I can't wait to get out there with you next week, man. And then after that, too, real bullets start to fly. A little preseason, get to watch some guys go after it and see who's going to make it. Practice well, but hey, game, you get to turn it on. And a lot of guys, you understood that. You know that. Matt, practice looks like great. Play like Tarzan in the game. I mean, play like Tarzan in practice, but in the game, look like Jan. So a lot of guys don't necessarily practice well, but play well in games. So we're going to see who's going to shine in those preseason games as well.
Yeah, I think Sunday's a good one. And let me see. I feel like it's open. Let me see. Open to the public. Is Sunday open to it is. Sunday is open to the public. So, or no, it's not. Sorry. My apologies, everybody. You cannot go out, but I will be there. That'll be joint. That's joint with the Rams. So I'm excited for Sunday, August 4th. We got joint practices with the Rams. So I'll be out there for that one. And I'll see you next week. I think you're coming down low. Going to be.
Absolutely. Shoot, I might even get, what time Sunday? What time? I might even try to make it down there.
Yeah, that's the one to go to, right? 11 to 1:30 is the Sunday joint with the Rams. And those are the ones, they're only doing 2. They're doing the 4th and the 14th with the Rams. Those are their only 2 joint practices. So if you can make it down, if you can do a little 11A to 1:30, I'll be out there and we'll get it in.
Sounds good, Matt. Well, you're the best, brother. Thanks for the
show. All right. Enjoyed it as always. Thanks everybody again. Bleav in Charger. We got football. To talk about. It's awfully exciting. See, the difference is I got to call ahead and I'll add this. I'll finish with this, Lo. You'll love this. Because sometimes I get preoccupied in my mind, my ADD kicks in, and I, forgot to tell the Chargers I was coming to practice on Monday, and they were like, "Yeah, dude, we only got 30 spots for the lot, so you're going to have to go to satellite parking." It's like, well, I got a radio show, I can't be at the mercy of a shuttle that only comes every 30 minutes if it's full, and I got to wait for the next one. Then I'm standing there for an hour, and it's like, So what do? I'm like, I'll just load up my bike. I'll park in one of the mall parking lots and ride my bike in. All good. My bike doesn't fit into the back of my car. So what do? Load up my daughter's bike with the little flower basket on the front with the lights that blink.
Did you really?
Riding. Oh, yeah. Yeah. For people that have ever seen the Goonies, if you've ever seen the Goonies where the dude's on his little sister's
Yes,
bike, and he's
yes.
like riding. That's basically what I was doing down Sepulveda or down PCH to get to
That is
Chargers practice on Monday. The lights on the front are blinking because they turn on automatically when you pick up speed. I pull in and they're like,
Hey,
"You're kidding, right?"
everyone's blowing the
No.
horn at you. Hey, man, you're
Oh, yeah.
like, hey,
Like,
you're waving,
come
driving
on,
Miss Daisy.
come on through, come on through. We're good. Yeah. So that was my Monday, about a mile long bike ride with a flowered basket on the front of a girl's bike. Woo. All
That's
right.
great. You figured it
All right.
out.
So that's going to do it. That'll do it for Bleav in Chargers. We'll be back again next week. Can't wait to see you on Sunday, Low, 11 a.m. Joint
Yes.
practice.
Okay. Bring the bike.
There we go.